Hi everyone, this is Callie Respisi, Collections Manager here at the Bennington Museum, welcoming you back to another Tour at 10. And today we are talking about the Bennington Flag, one of the older objects in our collection. Exactly how old is it? We don't really know. At one point when the museum first acquired this flag, this was one of the first things in the museum. It was believed to have been from the Battle of Bennington fought in 1777, and that would make it the oldest Stars and Stripes still in existence. So when we acquired this flag, it came from the Fillmore family. It was believed to have been owned first by Septa Fillmore, who was a veteran of the Battle of Bennington, who could have carried this flag in battle. It's a little large for a battle flag. If it was that old, it probably was a stationary flag flying over a fort or a encampment somewhere. And then he was believed to have passed it down to his nephew, Septa Fillmore. And Septa had been involved in the War of 1812. He was up in Plattsburgh during the Battle of Plattsburgh. And Septa was believed to have passed it to his nephew, Philetus Fillmore. And then Philetus Fillmore, who was believed to have passed it along to, I think at that point it finally goes to his son, Franklin Bosworth Fillmore, who passed it to his daughter, Maud Fillmore Wilson, who gave it to the museum. There are a few problems with this story. First of all, the fibers of the flag, when this gallery was renovated in the 1990s, we sent this flag down to the Textile Conservation Center in Lowell, Massachusetts, and it had been on display almost constantly since the museum was opened in 1928 and had sustained a lot of light damage. And even when the museum acquired it, it was very faded at that point too. Of course, now we look at it and it's mostly shades of gray. It was originally red and white stripes with the blue canton up here, and the dyes that are used in this were natural dyes. So indigo for the blue, either madder or cochineal for the red. And those natural dyes fade very easily. They're very susceptible to light damage and UV light damage in particular. So when this went down to the Textile Conservation Center, there's nothing you can do about light damage. Light damage is not something that can be reversed with a magic wand. Well, maybe a magic wand, but not in real life. So they weren't really able to do much about the fading, but they were able to clean it. It had been glued into the original glass case that the museum had installed, and so they had to do a lot of remediation there. And it's now encased in a plexiglass encasement, and it has a special barrier that protects it from ultraviolet light. We do still keep the light levels in here very low, and it's in this gallery there is motion sensor so that if there's nobody actually in this gallery, the lights go off, which also helps to protect this flag a little bit more. So while it was down there at the Textile Conservation Lab, they actually examined the fibers, and what they found is that the cotton thread that was used to sew the stripes together and to sew the pieces together is not a type of thread that was really available in the United States in 1777. It was not available until the 1820s, and not really commonly available until, or it wasn't available until the 1810s, and not really commonly available until the 1820s. So this flag could not possibly date to 1777. It's possible that it could date to 1812. It's more likely that it was made as a commemorative piece, possibly for the 50th anniversary of American independence in 1826. The 76 up here in Canton certainly are a reference to the spirit of 76. And so it would make sense that this is probably a commemorative object rather than a historical flag. But still, it's really, really exciting because before there was an actual a flag, a definite flag design, Congress had decided that the American flag would be 13 stripes and 13 stars, and that they would add stars as more states were added on. But the arrangement of the stars in particular was something that was left up to the maker's creativity. And so this flag has its 13 stars arranged in this lovely arch with 2 in the corners, and then the 76. And this is not a design that's really found anywhere else other than this particular flag. So it certainly makes sense that it's a commemorative piece. It might have been made by SEPTA Fillmore. One of the interesting things about it is that these stars each have 7 points. So SEPTA, of course, means 7. So it might make sense that SEPTA Fillmore had a special flag made to commemorate Spirit of 76 and had 7 pointed stars put on it because it was for him and it was something that was going to be special. And since he was himself a veteran, he had fought in the War of 1812, he certainly was very patriotic and might have had something like this made for himself. So one of the other interesting things I think about this flag is that when it was owned by SEPTA's nephew, a little bit later in its life, it was displayed in 1876 for the centennial, and then a little bit later on, another owner took it and marched in a parade for the Grand Army of the Republic, and at that point, unfortunately, somebody vandalized the flag. At least that's how the story goes. So you'll notice that the top stripe is missing, and then there's also a little piece missing down here too. So the story is that this man was marching in the parade, he was carrying this flag, and after the parade was over, it was a hot summer day, he went into a bar or a restaurant to refresh himself and foolishly left his flag outside. And at that point, vandals came and trimmed off one of the stripes and took it away as a souvenir. So I guess the lesson to be taken here would be that if you are marching with your valuable family heirloom in a parade, don't leave it outside to go into the bar and get a drink. It's also possible, though, that he simply made this story up because it was very common. If you've ever seen the Stars and Stripes, the McKinley flag at the Smithsonian, it's also missing lots of pieces. And it was very common at this time to take flags and to cut off little pieces as souvenirs for people. So it's possible that the family might have been responsible for some of the damage on this flag as well. But in any case, it is one of the oldest Stars and Stripes in the country, and it's just a really wonderful object, whether it is directly connected to the Battle of Bennington or not. It is a wonderful American relic, and we're so lucky to have it here in Bennington.